day sit down and say, I think I'll start writing about sports now? Or do you even remember? Did it just kind of evolve?
I do remember it was probably like 2007, and I was writing military, and I was in contact with like a platoon over there, and Ramadi was the hotspot back then. And I was corresponding like by email daily. And this one leader said to me, I've got a staff sergeant who's he's a rodeo cowboy before he joined the army. Is that a story you could use? And I was like, yeah, I can use that. So, and I was writing for a small press, and I was looking for like my next big idea. And that's what launched my first, cowboy rodeo book. And then I spun that off into my Studs and Spurs series, which I think has like 9 books. It's all bull riders. It's a bull rider team. And that's what really started it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned you before because my husband was uh, from a rodeo family, is from a rodeo family. And it's always fascinated me that in this small town, the panhandle of Texas, the girls and the boys, everybody trains from the time they're little kids.
Yeah.
And they get these metal, like cows or bulls.
Barrels. They
And
practice on a barrel, right? With
yeah,
those
right.
strings,
And they got them
shaking.
in the yard, and everybody's roping and
Yeah.
lassoing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's it was a whole new culture to me. First time I ever went to visit his family, I said, where am I? And plus,
Don't they start button busting at like 3 years old? And you see these
yeah,
little
they
kids
do.
barely walk, holding on to the wool of this sheep,
Yep,
running. It's hysterical.
they
It
will.
is.
And
It's
and
cute.
and they also have their own lingo that they use that I'd never heard before. And so in writing, we pay attention to all of that, of course. So what about the rest of you? What made you decide one day that you were going to write about sports? Especially when
I've
you've
been
written other things. We'll get to that in a minute.
I
My
wanted to find a bigger, oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna
I can
say my very first book as Lainey Davis was a hockey romance, and then I wrote a football romance. It's just been such a big part of my life, and it's what made sense. I've, done a few other kinds of books, but probably the majority have been sports romance.
Okay, so for you, it's just always been there.
Hmm.
Okay, and Shannon?
I wanted to move into a larger pool of readers than Jane Austen fan fiction gives you because I would like to make this my career rather than having a nice hobby. And I was going to so at the time RWA was still going on, Romance Writers of America. Not that it isn't now, but it was still a really big thing. And I made my first writer friends through joining a local chapter. And as I was trying to decide what to write next, somebody was like, well, Mr. Darcy's a billionaire. You're basically writing billionaire romance without writing billionaire romance. Or make it billionaire, but make it historical with Jane Austen's characters. So, but I didn't really want to write billionaire. Like I read a few billionaire romance and it was fun, but it didn't quite I don't know. There's some of the tropes in billionaire romance that are not as they don't as appeal to me as much as a lot of the tropes in sports romance. So then I was kind of like, where could I have that a similar flavor but make it more fun for me as the author? So it was sports because I do love all the things that we've already talked about a little bit. I love the whole competence porn angle. I like the arrogance. I like the banter. I like the camaraderie and the smack talking. I don't know if you allow cursing on your websites or on your podcast. So I'll edit myself here, but I like all of that. I think that's really fun, and I grew up around enough. My husband's pretty competitive. He's played all sorts of sports too, so I think it's fun. Like that's a fun world to live in, and I think Melanie Harlow said to find the intersection of what you enjoy as to write as a writer and what readers enjoy reading. And for me, sports romance, in particular rom-com, just is it's like a super big sweet spot for me. So that's how I got my start.
And it is hard as a writer, isn't it? If you don't like what you're writing, it's just
Ugh,
just really hard work. And I think the result isn't as good as if we are really enjoying what we're doing. So,
Absolutely.
Lauren, what made you decide one day, you know what? I think instead of being a lawyer that I have all these degrees in, I think I'll be a writer and I'm going to write some sports.
Well, I always knew I was going to be a writer, but when your parents are a banker and a lawyer, you're expected to have a real career. And luckily, I was very blessed in that I had two parents who said, "We don't want you to not write, but you have to have a day job. You're not going to live in the basement." Now, the irony is, I'm no longer live in the basement. We don't have a basement in Oklahoma because of the clay soil up in Tulsa. I live upstairs because when you go to law school, you come out with $145,000 in debt, and what no one tells you is in Oklahoma, you'll only get paid $2,000 more than a Taco Bell general manager when I came out. And I had debt that was well above what my monthly income was. So I quite literally couldn't afford to live anywhere else. And so when you have to send in your pay stubs to the government and adjust that debt, the next thing you know, you're like, oh, well, we've just added $20,000 and 12.5% interest because private loans, because half my loans were from Canada. So that was
Oh,
fun. So I said, well, I think it's time I really get on the writing because I'd been kind of secretly doing it while in law school and kind of working on my manuscripts and figuring out what I wanted to write. And I ended up using my book money when I had a very, very good year unexpectedly, when I had some rights revert and I self published those books that came back. I paid off my law school debt with book money. And then I was able to, 3 years later, I was able to retire full time. And because again, the lawyer money just, I mean, $34,000 after taxes, that's a joke. So I was like, we're going to make the book stuff work. So I worked really, really hard. And that's why I've got about 4 pen names and about 102 titles in English and about 270 in 6 different translated languages that I've been working on all on my own from, financing everything. I didn't, and I've
How
got
many years
audiobooks.
was that? Sorry for
It's been
interrupting.
no, you're good. It's I graduated law school in 2011, and I published my first book in 2014. So 2014 to now, 102 books, 4 pen names. Some of them are
Dang.
I
novellas.
know it. And that's
So
why
I just
they said she has an empire.
so I
Yeah.
really hit it hard, and I thought I've got to make this work as a career. And so for me, because I write under so many different genres, I didn't come to romance literally until 2008, like my second year in law school when I was finally discovered romance. I read everything but. So when I came to writing, I chased the story idea. And so I never really, that's why I don't think of my bull riding book as a bull riding book. I just say it has bull riding in it because it's just part of this other piece of the story. And so as I started thinking about hockey romances, I laugh because I'm like, why haven't I been writing hockey romances? The very first man I ever fell in love with was a hockey goalie. And like we were, in high school, and I went to every single one of his games, and I'm like, why did it never occur to me that I should have been like 10 years ago writing hockey romances?
Well,
And so but for me, I've got to wait for that right idea to hit. And then when the idea for Penalty King came to me, I was really excited because I haven't seen a ton of like darker hockey romances. I know they exist. And again, mine's not dark in that the hero's going to hurt anybody or anything like that. It's more just that hockey's violent. And sometimes when I see the cute cartoon cover hockey books, which I love reading, by the way, no judgment, but I'm just like, hockey's so violent. And this is like got a bubble pink cover on it,